How holding on to a grudge can affect your health. Hi, my name is Dr. Meghana Dikshit. I'm the author of the book You Matter and Brain and Performance Expert. If you're someone who's holding on to a grudge for something that happened to you 6 months back, 6 years back, or maybe 10, 15, 20 years back, and you're not able to forget or forgive about what happened back then, remember that it's like somebody gave you the poison to drink, you drank the poison, and you're expecting the other person to die. Isn't it, silly? Because you're drinking the poison, you're holding on to the grudge, and when you hold on to the grudge, what actually happening in your body and your brain is, your brain is constantly going back to the same experience or the traumatic event that happened in your life, and it is reliving that event again and again and again. And imagine if that event was so traumatic that it is still giving you that feeling of grudge and resentment. Imagine if you're living that event 24/7 inside your brain. What would it be doing to your brain? Every time you relive that moment, you relive that experience in your space, your brain releases hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These are the stress hormones. Every time we feel stressed, the stress could be physical stress like getting injured, the stress could be chemical stress like bacteria and viruses, or the stress could be emotional stress that is invoked into any traumatic experience. Your brain releases adrenaline and cortisol. And this adrenaline and cortisol run in your body constantly can cause serious damage to your physical health and your mental health. So if you are ready to know more about this subject, type ready in the chat box and let's dive deeper. The traumatic event that has happened in your life, and if you haven't dealt it well, if you're still remembering that event, what happens is your body goes into a chronic state of stress. And every time it's in a chronic state of stress, it's not the time to rest or relax. It's the time to either run or fight. And whenever you're running and fighting, your brain is going to release that cortisol hormone, which is to help you get more energy so that you can fight with a threat. And in this case, the threat is practically that human being who traumatized you, or that event that happened, that situation you went through, where you felt out of control and helpless, is the event that is the tiger right in front of you. Now, every time you're not resting, not relaxing, and if 24/7 the cortisol is running in your brain and your body is practically not going into repair and regeneration. Eventually, this leads to constant inflammation on your body, and when there is a constant inflammation on your body doesn't get a chance to heal. And if your body doesn't get a chance to heal, your body goes into the wear and tear. Now imagine you may have a great Ferrari, but if it has a substandard fuel, it will never work like Ferrari. Same thing with your body. Your body may be great, but the chemicals inside your body, if they are substandard, it's not going to give you the results that ideally it should be giving you. And then you will start experiencing aches and pains in your body, autoimmune disorders, or maybe chronic fatigue and chronic headaches. Which one are you going through? What are the symptoms that you are facing in your body that may be due to inflammation in your body? Do you face aches and pains? Let me know in the chat box. Do you have any headaches, migraines often coming to you, hyperacidity or bloating, constipation, or any sort of an autoimmune disorder that you may have experienced in your life? Put it in the chat box and let me know. What is the damage that is your body gone through already? How has this Ferrari have started going into a Katara car? Let me know. Your brain doesn't know what is real and what is imaginary. So when you replay that event in your mind, your brain actually sees it as it's happening right now. And it gets into that, that stress immediately. Whereas when you engage into forgiveness, what happens is your brain turns on the parasympathetic nervous system and it starts releasing oxytocin and serotonin kind of hormones that are healing hormones, that are calming hormones, that are happy hormones. And every time your parasympathetic nervous system is engaged, automatically you start feeling better about yourself and your health starts getting better. Now, I know Forgiveness is not easy. And I generally tell this to people, there's no forced forgiveness. If you go into the forced forgiveness, it might kind of create even more stress in your body. So rather than going for forced forgiveness, you can start taking small steps towards forgiveness. The first thing that you need to understand is the forgiveness is not for the person who injured you or who gave you that trauma or who gave you that poison. The forgiveness is for you, the person that you were at that point of time. You were younger than what you are today, and you didn't have the ability to handle the situation the way you would handle today. On a hindsight, you feel that you could have handled the situation better. But imagine at that moment, you made the best choice available to you at that point of time. So forgiveness is not outside to somebody else. Forgiveness is towards self. Towards self for being helpless, towards self for feeling powerless in that situation, towards self for not standing up for yourself and not being able to take care of that situation in the most constructive way. So first step towards getting over your grudges and start, healing yourself is forgiving and accepting yourself as it is in that situation. Yesterday only I finished an intervention with one of my students, and she has gone through series of assaults and abuse in her childhood by her own family member. And she has seen a lot of dysfunctionality in her family, where the father was alcoholic, he didn't do much and he didn't provide for the family well. So there was a lot of tension, a lot of arguments at home. On top of it, she was suffering through this abuse. Now, when she grew up in that environment, and now she's having, a good business, she has a great husband, she has amazing children, but still she beats herself up constantly, and there's a constant criticism for not standing up against that abuse, for not making those mistakes. And she gives herself the entire thing about, because she keeps blaming herself that she must have given some signals out there to go through that kind of an abuse. Now, most of the people I see that, a child who goes through certain sort of a verbal emotional abuse at home, starts taking responsibility at a very young age that, it happened because of them. The parents are not at fault and they did what they did. And the child doesn't understand this, but the child starts taking responsibility and starts blaming self to keep themselves safe and comfortable. The moment you start blaming yourself for what happened in the past, it's the moment that you start going into that blaming mindset, that shaming mindset. And the moment you go into the blaming and shaming, you automatically start releasing stress hormones. So forgiveness is not to the outside person, but forgiveness for being in that situation and being helpless and not able to do what you would do today with all the awareness. Now, why is it so hard to forgive self or others for that matter? It's very important to understand that how your brain functions. When you go through a trauma which you are not healed and you are, constantly living in that trauma, your brain starts warning you all the time about that trauma and starts protecting you and keeping you safe from that trauma not actually repeating in your life again. So keeping the grudge and resentment alive in your space is a way of your brain's mechanism to help you, to protect you from avoiding the similar kind of a situation in the future. So forgiveness becomes hard, and it's a constant reminder to yourself that, you have to keep this alive in your space, because what if something happens next? What if something happens next? And unfortunately, even though things do not happen outside, because you're reliving that constant trauma inside, you automatically start attracting the similar situations in your life. The victim mindset only leads you to start focusing on the blame and shame rather than focusing on the solution and opportunities. A lot of times I have seen people, those who live in grudges and resentment, their entire focus becomes very narrow. There are so many opportunities available right in front of them, but the whole focus becomes so narrow that they want to just get by in the situation. They want to just get by through their life. At the bigger picture, in a very conscious way, they get very upset and they are very, angry about the situation, and they keep feeling, why do I not get the opportunities? But the fact of that, the opportunity being available, you're still not able to take it because you're constantly in the mindset of grudge and resentment. Now, if something like this you're facing, let me know in the comment section what opportunities were you looking for and you did not get. Type opportunity in the chat box and let me know if this is happening to you. And trust me on this, in the same situation, in the same world, where somebody who's less capable than you, who's less experienced than you, less skilled than you, is that person getting more opportunities than you? Science has proven time and again that your brain does not see the opportunities with your two eyes, but you see the opportunities with your perception filter, which is there inside your brain. And this perception filter is set at a very young age. And this perception filter is built around your needs, around your comfort, and around the pain that you've gone through. Your brain's primary function is to keep you safe and protected. And if taking a new opportunity means, facing a new challenge means, maybe going and inviting the trauma again, your brain is never going to show you that opportunity. It's going to just shut your eyes towards the opportunity available, and it's just going to make you see only problems. Sometimes, I ask people that, why have you not taken the opportunity? And most of the times, these opportunities are brilliant opportunities and these are amazing, intelligent people. But most of the time, the answer is, I can't trust opposite person. How many times in your life you find it difficult to trust someone's intentions, and in your mind it's constantly like, I can't trust this person easily. Why is this person trying to help me? What's their ulterior motive? How is it for you? Do you also face the same thing? Do you face that I can't trust people? Just put it in the chat box and tell me, and write, I can't trust people easily. Let me know about it. Now let me tell you some of the ways that you can start actually healing yourself, getting over the grudge and resentment, and start walking towards forgiveness. The first step is acknowledge your pain. Go through it. You have to go through it to grow through it. Don't create a bubble around that event or that trauma or that pain. Allow yourself to feel the pain. Medical science today has proven that keeping the negative emotions inside you is a very detrimental thing for your immune system. Cancer, autoimmune disorders are rooted into your negative emotions, and most of the times these negative emotions are coming from that traumatic event. Now tell me, is it worth to keep that poison stuck inside you just to make sure that it doesn't happen to you again, or is it better to let that poison go? Now it's very important to go through the pain, It's very important to visit that trauma. There's a child who often connects with me. He's an 18-year-old boy and he's lost his mother in 2019. When she was a young 49-year-old woman, and he feels it's an injustice. God was not just with him. Why did he have to lose his mother so soon? And every time he connects and he tells me this, I just keep saying this, that it's important that you heal yourself. Because you know what, this same feeling of injustice, whether it's losing the mother, it's a very big thing, right? Or it could be losing a partner, or it could be anything for that matter, losing an opportunity or a job or something that you really, really cared about. And suddenly this loss might just make you feel vulnerable, and you don't want to feel vulnerable. Rather, you like to put the bubble around you to just cope from that situation and not feel the negativity of the situation. But unfortunately, not feeling the negativity doesn't happen because your body keeps producing certain hormones. Emotions of anger, frustration, disappointment, hurt, pain, all of this will keep causing negative emotions, negative hormones cycle back to back in your body. So it's better to go through this pain, you go through these emotions fully and help yourself to deal with them. The second step is to establish good boundaries. A lot of times when you have low self-esteem or low self-worth, it is difficult to establish boundaries. Or as a child, when you never understood how to establish the boundaries. At home, the dysfunctionality was such a way that nobody cared to teach you, or you didn't understand. People were all over, each other, and there were no boundaries maintained. you'll end up becoming an adult who doesn't know how to set the boundaries, who doesn't know how to say no, who doesn't know how to keep your respect intact and make the other person, tell the other person that don't do this to me, or I feel this way when you do this. If you do not have the ability to express yourself, you'll end up becoming a people pleaser, and that will, end up creating more grudges and more resentment in your life. So the second step is to start building good boundaries. Healthy boundaries, not hurting anybody, but in a good, compassionate manner, maybe speaking your truth. You can talk to people and tell them how you feel, slowly, step by step. If you want to know more about how to set the boundaries, I've done the video on this. Go ahead, check that video out, and you will know the steps to create boundaries so that you can increase your self-worth and your self-esteem. The third step is knowing that forgiveness is a journey. It's not an overnight thing. Nobody can forgive self or others overnight. So what counts is the progress. Maybe every single day, letting go of that little bit of wound, letting go of that little bit of anger, letting go of that little bit of hurt. Focus on the progress that you're making, on the intensity of the resentment and the grudges that you feel. Slow forgiveness, steady forgiveness will go a long way to heal your body and your mind slowly. The next step is think carefully about going to the family and friends to discuss about your grudges and resentments. Because you know what, sometimes your own family members or maybe friends are the reason for these grudges and resentment. And most importantly, your family members and your friends are going to be biased about you. So sometimes they validate your feelings and they deepen the trauma. Just to make sure that you're safe and you're protected, there is a chance that your family and friends might just push that trauma deeper in your subconscious mind and cause more damage and more negative emotions in your space. So you might want to reconsider talking to a family member or a friend, or go to an expert or go to a therapist who can help you deal with it in a much better way. The next step is visualizing, letting go of the trauma. Now, just let's do a quick visualization. But before we do a quick visualization, put in the chat box, visualize. Type in the chat box, visualize, so that I can take you through this visualization. I want you to quickly close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths and exhale through your mouth. Now think of that one event that happened to you, that traumatized you, or that experience that you're still holding on to grudge or resentment, or that person. Now, the moment you think of that event or that experience or that person, what kind of emotion comes up in your space? Anger, pain, dissatisfaction, disappointment, hurt. Now, any of that emotion comes out in your space. Give it a shape, size, texture, and bring that emotion outside of your body, right in front of you. Just do it right in front of you. Let me know what shape, size, texture you see that emotion as. Is it a black smoke? Is it a spider? Is it a demon? How does your negative emotion look like? Type in the chat box and give me some ideas so that next time somebody watches this video, they can also think, because a lot of people have the difficulty in visualizing such things. So if you're a great visualizer, maybe you can put your visualization of that emotion or that trauma that you experience out of your body. So what is it for you? Let's consider it's like a black ball filled with the smoke. Okay. Now, whatever that comes in front of you, I want you to imagine either that smoke is vaporizing into the air, or maybe rain water is falling over it and it's getting kind of disintegrated all over, or it's getting vacuumed, or the cyclone is carrying it away with it. How would you like to visualize this trauma or this emotion is going away from your space? Keep visualizing it as many times as possible. If not many times, but at least twice a day. When you wake up in the morning, before you go to sleep, visualize the trauma going away with the natural forces that are taking it away from you. And the last step is having a heart-to-heart conversation with that person who has hurt you. Now, sometimes it's important for us, especially if you want to be in a long-term relationship with this person, you want to open up and you want to talk to this person and you want to tell this person what are you feeling with that particular conversation that happened or that event that happened. But a lot of times, if it's not necessary and if you feel that it's not a long-term relationship, it's not an important relationship, but if you feel like just trying to prove a point and having a conversation, my suggestion would be that avoid it. Don't just satisfy your ego, because that's going to only spiral into more grudges and more resentment. Because you see, human beings don't just keep the grudges and resentment and not able to forgive for something somebody did to you, but there are higher chances that when you do something wrong to somebody, that time also it's difficult for our conscience to forgive ourselves. So it's better to, in such scenarios where you don't have a deeper relationship or you don't mean to have a longer relationship, work with a therapist, work with a coach, or write a thought journal so that you can release your grudges and resentment and how you felt in that moment. Remember, forgiveness is a gift that you will give to yourself more than somebody else. Work towards this. You will thank yourself for forgiving yourself for being in those situations. Because when you forgive, you actually rise up. You actually grow up in your space. Type forgive in the chat box if this video helped you, and if you would like to send it to somebody, make sure that you send it to at least 10 people so that let's make this world a better place, a better human being by forgiving self and growing taller and taller in your space. Lots of love to all of you. See you very soon.